John, welcome to the On Purpose podcast, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for inviting me.
It was my pleasure. I've been following you now for a while. Our paths crossed back way back in the MMA days in Colorado with Sparta Combat League. And it's been fun to watch your progression.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Same here. I mean, watching you retire and watch you to go on to do what you're doing. I mean, it's just been great to watch for sure.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, right? I think that's something we can dive into as we go is finding that next thing when we retire, especially from service professions where you're so used to giving. And now when you retire, like, okay, how do I balance that out a little bit? So I'm super intrigued to share your story and really what you've been up to lately. That really caught my eye because now I consider you almost like a news channel.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Just get the truth out.
Yeah, no, I love it. But John, before we go in, just like jujitsu, man, I know you're still rolling and stuff. I can't just throw you on the mat and have live rolls. We got to warm these bodies up. We got to warm the minds up. So you
Yeah,
ready?
yeah.
You ready to get warmed up, John?
Ready to get warmed up. Let's go.
All right, my friend. John, you find yourself stranded on a deserted island. You get one food for the rest of your life. What's my friend going to be eating?
Oh man, one food for the rest of my life, man. I mean, I'd have to go with some kind of protein. So, it would have to be I'm pure carnivore, so it would have to be some kind of steak or something.
Nice, nice. We have ribeye steaks of prominent choice in that section.
Yeah. Yeah. I gotta stick with the carnivore, man.
How do you cooking that? I always like to know people's grilling
Uh
recipes.
oh man, it's gotta be, rarish. So light kind of little bit of garlic on there, maybe a little bit of, grass-fed butter on top, and that's pretty much it.
That's a good one. Yeah, simple and good flavors there.
Yeah.
All right, John, you get a superpower. You get to have one superpower in the world. What do you want to have and why would you use it?
Man, I would think some type of invulnerability, so it'd be harder for you to get hurt. Uh and how would I use it? I mean, I would use it to, continue to do what I've done my whole life, just try to protect people. So to give me that opportunity to just still be out there and protect those who are weaker than us and those who need help. So yeah, I think I train all the time. I like to think I'm pretty strong, like to think that I've got some good mixed martial arts abilities. So the not getting hurt would be would definitely be a key feature. So yeah,
That's
probably
awesome.
yeah, some kind of toughened body.
I love it. I love it. Favorite book?
Oh man, favorite book. I think a book lately that has really affected me has been Extreme Ownership by Jocko and Leaf. A couple of years ago when I first dove into that book and I was an upper level leader in the government, I made all my supervisors under me read the book as well. And it definitely helped with my leadership style, helped me learn how to lead, helped me learn how to, the extreme ownership for myself and in my life. Yeah, so I would say, lately that would definitely be a high level book for me, Extreme Ownership.
What what part of your life do you think it impacted the most? Like where did you read it and go, "Oh man, I got to make a change here."
Just a lot about myself, really. It made me kind of look in the mirror at what kind of leader I was and what I was doing for those that were under me. I've the last few years I've really dove a lot into leadership. Trying to be, either a transformational leader, a servant leader, just how am I serving those that are working for me, and how can I be a better leader? And upon reading Extreme Ownership, it just kind of made me look in the mirror and go, man, you're not doing a great job. Like you need to improve on communication, you need to and improve on helping people grow, and building leadership underneath you, and not always thinking, that okay, I'm the leader, I lead everything. That's it really made me look at like kind of redundancy and be like, okay, man, I need to prepare the people under me to take my seat. Like that
Mm.
became my focus, is becoming more of like a mentor and saying, okay, I'm not going to be sitting in this seat forever, and I need to pass on every single skill I have and allow the people underneath me to grow to be a better leader than I ever was. And so that's kind of where that book really hit my focus.
Dude, I love it. I love it. I'll tell you where, because when I read that, I was still running our academy. So I was supervising new recruits for their first year. And what it really hit with me is that I was always accountable, and any mistake that anybody below me made was somehow my fault.
Still my fault. Yep, exactly. Yes.
Right. I love it.
100%.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
that's,
never, it's weird. I'd never looked at it that way. And when you explain it to people that it's your fault, people kind of look at you like you're crazy. Like no, not everything's your fault. Yeah, man. If you accept leadership and things go wrong underneath you, it doesn't matter. It's your fault. You're the leader, man. It's your fault.
and it's weird, right? That, let's stay on this topic for a minute. It's weird, right? Because people will be like, well, if it's always my fault, man, then I'm responsible for a lot. But I think it's empowering to realize it's always your fault.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely it is.
Because then it's
Yeah, because
always your
it helps you grow.
right. And that's always your responsibility to find a solution.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Look for the solutions and have those under you help you find the solutions. That was the big thing for me. Like, yeah, these things were my fault, but if they were failing under me, then I needed to empower them to get better. I needed to empower myself to help them get better so that we could, continue to move forward and not make those same mistakes.
Absolutely. I love it. And it's such a opposite message that we get a lot in life nowadays, where nothing's our fault and we're the victims of everything, and somebody else has to be responsible for whatever's happened to me. And I love this because it flipped. It's like, no, dude, everything's your fault.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, John, you get dinner with one person. This person could still be alive or have passed. Who would you have dinner with,
Mhm.
and what would you want to learn?
Someone who's just been kind of in my face a lot lately is Elon Musk. And he's just been involved in a bunch of crap lately, and now he wants to get into mixed martial arts a little bit with his little match against Zuckerberg. So I would love to have dinner with him to just kind of pick his brain a little bit. He just seems like such an intelligent guy, and I've listened to him on Rogan before, and I just think it would be a really interesting dinner just to sit down with that guy and just see really where his brain goes.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I would love for you to, if you get that dinner, you got to come back on and tell us how it went.
Absolutely.
Well, all right. So since you brought this up, man, I got to tell you, I'm not the hugest Zuckerberg fan in the world, but he looks to be in a
Mhm.
lot better shape from some recent jujitsu pictures I've seen than Mr. Musk.
Yeah, it definitely looks like he's been hitting a couple of CrossFit sessions, and he's his he yeah, I mean he does, man. He looks in shape. He looks like he's taking his jujitsu seriously. We haven't seen a lot of pictures of what Elon's actually doing. It looks like he's starting to put a little bit of a good team around them. But we don't know if Elon's been practicing in private. I mean, he may not be one of those guys that puts a lot of stuff
That's
out there,
true.
that he's doing jujitsu. I mean, the guy's got the money to pay whoever to come to his house and train him. So we don't know if he's been suffering in silence, and we're gonna be really surprised when he comes out. And as we both know, it doesn't matter what you look like in
That's
jujitsu.
true. That's the beauty of it, huh?
Man. Yeah, that's the beauty of it, man. I've gotten on the mat with some tiny, skinny dudes, or even women that I'm like, oh man, she's trying to choke me out here, man. She's all over my back, and it doesn't matter. Like if you're good and you understand the leverage and the principles of jujitsu, you could look like a bodybuilding god and get wrecked by some skinny dude. So it doesn't
That's
matter.
true. That's true. I did see a picture of him with George St. Pierre recently, who was, from our heyday in MMA. George is somebody I always
Yeah.
looked up to. So I'm like, man, if you're hanging out with him, like good things seem to come around him.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, how you feeling, John? You warmed up. We got some good MMA in there. We
Yeah.
talked about Musk. We're feeling good.
Feeling good. Feeling good.
Dude, so I'm intrigued with you have a very diverse background, from your time in the Air Force to your federal law enforcement time, recently retired, a little bit after me. How have you
Mhm.
let's talk. Let's go to the retirement thing first for our community. How did you find purpose again, moving from something that was so clearly purposeful in law enforcement to now, okay, what do I want to do? How did you find that?
Yeah, you know, initially it was pretty hard, man. You know, retiring from law enforcement, especially retiring from a position that I had, you know, so you know, being a field office director in a federal agency, I was over 2 states, had a lot of employees. I mean, my job was like 24/7, man. I mean, I was just, you know, always on the phone, always, you know, just work, 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 work. And then you wake up one day and you don't have your badge and your gun and you're not, you know, that guy anymore. And you're like, wow, you know, where am I? Like it's weird with law enforcement. I mean, you know, we get a retirement badge. We're allowed to carry off duty still, you know, and into retirement, but you kind of lose who you are a little bit. You know, those first initial days, you know, you're kind of wondering, you know, what am I? Who am I now? You know? And you know, so you know, I took a few days and then reached out to a friend of mine who was also retiring, and I said, you know, man, let's kick up this consulting business, and we started talking about working some different consulting stuff, and you know, it just started snowballing after that. So you know, one thing became another. We started going down to the border, working on border documentaries, and you know, then people started calling me up to do interviews on national security and you know different you know child sex trafficking stuff, and you know, before I knew it, I was just, you know, working on a bunch of stuff. And then, and then I got an opportunity to work on a congressional campaign, which, you know, having worked for the government, I'd been very nonpartisan and had never really gotten involved in politics. So I jumped on a congressional campaign and started working on that. And, you know, before I knew it, I was working more hours than I was before I retired. And you know, I had to kind of take a step back and go, whoa, 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 whoa. You know, you need to take some time for yourself too. You're getting involved in all these projects, man. You need a little bit of relaxed time too to just chill your brain a little bit. And yeah, so now I'm just involved in a bunch of different, really kind of diverse things, but I still take time for myself, man. You know, I train martial arts 4 times a week. So, you know, I get up at, you know, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm at jujitsu by 6 a.m. You know, train a little bit of striking here and there and still train firearms at least once a week. I'm in a private range, still do that. So, you know, I try to keep all my skills up and then, you know, just do what kind of drives me forward and makes me happy right now.
So what share with us when you got to a point where like, wait a second, I gotta slow myself down here because we're talking off air and I find this pretty common in people I connect with that when they retire, especially from service professions where we can't say no to things, like we have to get stuff done, we almost struggle with creating that boundary of saying no in the private sector or in our personal life. So what was there a moment where you're like, wait a second, I gotta slow this train down?
Yeah, you know, it was you know, I had bought a ranch a few years ago up in northwestern Colorado, and I kept telling myself, you know, when I retire, I'm gonna get up there and work on my cabin and, you know, get that all prepared for me. You know, because I love to hunt and I wanted to make sure it was ready for me for hunting season. And I retired and I did not go up there at all.
Mm.
Like I didn't do anything for me. Like you know, I wasn't getting anything done that I said I wanted to do once I retired. And then like 2 or 3 months went by and I still hadn't been up to the property or to the cabin yet. And I was like, man, John, what's one of the reasons why you retired? Like you were supposed to do some stuff for you too, you know? So you know, and then my wife just looked at me and she's like, man, just take some time for yourself. Go up there for a couple weeks, you know, disconnect, you know, get off the internet, get off your phone, just go up there and you know, just go do your thing. And you know, so I went up there, and you know, you don't get a good cell phone signal up there. There's no Wi-Fi, and I just kind of disconnected from this reality, and kind of cleaned myself out, man. Kind of just cleaned my mind and body, and stayed up there for 2 weeks, and yeah, I figured out, hey, man, you're for now on, you're gonna just set things up so that you can take care of you and the things that you want to accomplish.
Interesting. So how did you, what's the framework then? Do you have like a decision making matrix you're using or a thought process before you say yes to anything else, like to make sure you stay in balance?
Yeah. So, especially because, a lot of people reach out to you for a lot of free time, so I get asked to speak a lot, and it's, for free. I haven't set up a payment thing for a lot of the talks I do, because I believe in what I'm doing. But, people can kind of take advantage of that a little bit, where, you get a lot of asks, to do a lot of stuff. And, it is impacting on your time, and you are volunteering a lot of that. And, it just started to be where, yeah, I started to set up my calendar, and I said, hey, on these days, these are John days. I'm going to take time for myself. I'm going to take time to be hitting the gym, and practicing jujitsu. And these days I'm going to set aside, for, my other projects, the things I'm going to do. And the thing is, man, I still have a family, so I got, there's also the family time too. I got a young daughter that's all involved in sports and stuff, and still trying to spend time with the wife. So you have to learn how to fit all those things in, and give certain priorities to things, for sure.
I love it. Yeah, it's crazy when we step away from the career, how much time we think we're gonna have versus how much time ends up being there because it gets filled.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I lose track of days, because I'm doing so many things, and I'm like, man, I thought going into retirement I'd have more time just to sit in the backyard and look at my pond. So count the fish in my pond.
Well,
And there's for me, there's really not a lot of that, for sure.
I tell you what, John, we should hang out more, bro, because I will show you how to forget what day of the week it is. Because there's many weeks I don't even know what day it is.
Nice, nice.
Hey, so let's get into what you're currently working on. I'm intrigued by your decision to go into a media type field, and specifically your focus. What made you decide to do that?
Just looking at media, and seeing how they make us focus, and what they're really showing us. I have had the opportunity in my career, to see media set things up to give us a look at something that wasn't true. Just how things were spun. Like, for many years working for the government and being in law enforcement, I got to watch the spin, and I got to watch how people spun certain agendas and stuff. So, I work in a lot of border issues, national security with the border, and happened to be down in El Paso a few days, before, President Biden was supposed to go down there, and saw how bad the situation was. And then when President Biden was getting ready to actually appear at the border, they cleaned it all up. They swept it all up, made it nice and shiny, made it look pretty. And then when the media got there, they did not show a problem. They showed a total different situation to the American public. And at that point in time, I said, you know what? I'm going to start showing up at places, and I'm going to start interviewing people, and I'm going to start showing the dirty, seedy stuff that the media is not showing us, or not allowing the American people to see. So I started getting involved with my consulting group. And we're called the Complete Solution Group. And we started going out and just getting down to the border and interviewing people that were coming over, going to some really seedy areas, and kind of showing the underbelly of actually what's going on, the things that you're not seeing in the media.
I gotta ask why. Why would you hear me out on this for a second, John? So many people, when they retire, want to get so far from what they've been doing, right? Like, one of the reasons they leave is like, I need to go do something else in life. But you literally dove right back in, just with a different perspective of where you came from. What made you want to do that?
Truth, man. Just, I don't like the fact that a lot of people are very one-sided in this country right now. Like, you're either on the left or the right. Like, there's so few people that are willing to look at the other side, and kind of see, okay, why are they thinking this? Why is this side thinking this? And we're fed so much stuff, through through Facebook and everything else. Like you go online, man, like your phone starts to figure out things that you look at, and that's all that you see. So if you start really looking at something from the left or something from the right, that's all you're going to see. And they start to feed you that information, and then you get stuck in this position where all you're seeing is one side. I just want to show people the truth and then let them decide. Research it for yourself. I'm going to give you the citations. I'm going to give you different things to look up. I'm going to give you a historical perspective, but I want you to go online, and I want you to get into libraries, and I want you to research this and make a decision, not based on what someone's spoon feeding you, but based on information that you've been given, so you can make a deciding factor on that. And for me, it was just important to do that. Like I said, I'd been nonpartisan my whole life, be working for the federal government, as I feel that the federal government should be. And just getting into retirement, now I was allowed to say what I wanted to say, and decided to try and get involved in some of this stuff.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you doing it, because I'll be honest, I don't go on Facebook much, because I just don't enjoy it, right? It's not a space that I usually
Right.
feel good in. But one of the times I was on there, I saw you recording from the border, and I was like, oh, look, what the hell is John up to nowadays? And then I think, didn't you get actually put in little Facebook jail for some of your videos?
Yeah. Because what happens is people will complain about stuff that I put up because they see it as a left or right issue. So, some people who are very pro illegal immigration and want to see people just be able to come into the country, they were complaining that I'm a nationalist, and all this really crazy stuff. So they complained to Facebook, and then Facebook comes on and closes down my Facebook page, and then I got to respond back like, no, actually, watch the video for yourself, Facebook, and you'll see that I'm very open with the videos, and I'm asking questions. I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm just putting the information out there for people to make a decision. But sometimes information hurts people,
Mm.
and people's feelings get hurt because you put information out there, and they want to shut you down. And that's what makes me keep doing this. Every time someone tries to shut me down, I think, no, man, we live in America, man. We have freedom of speech. You may not agree exactly with what I'm talking about how I believe the border should be secure, and you may not agree that I think we should be enforcing immigration law, but that's okay to disagree with me. Debate me on that issue. Talk to me about that issue. Don't try to shut me down, because you're only going to make me try to go harder now. Now I'm going to go stronger. Now I'm going to shoot more video and put more fact out. So that's where we're at.
So what was your take on the border? Because here I'll just share my perspective. Traveling full time, living in my Airstream, we zipped through El Paso as fast as we could, with or without the border. Quite honestly, El Paso is not a place I'm going to spend much time. But then in New
Right.
Mexico and Arizona, I walked across the border multiple times in small towns to practice my Spanish in the markets, and I enjoy the Mexican culture. So when I'm watching a lot of this feed and stuff, I'm like, man, this doesn't seem, at least where I was, people were still very humane to each other and treating each other well. And I was in this little town called Naco, Arizona,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which is split, half Mexico, half United States. And something I never knew is the kids in the Mexican side actually went to the American school. They came to the border, went
Yeah.
through, got
Yeah.
picked up by a bus. And dude, I was there when they were coming back. We were crossing the border after school. I would have swore they were American kids, right? Like New York Yankee baseball
Yeah.
hats and joking. They're teenagers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what was your experience like? And like, was I just way off base seeing that, or was it?
No. You were seeing legal immigration, so most of those people in those areas have what's called border crosser cards, BCC cards, which allows them to legally go back and forth across the border because they're living right on the border of the United States. And that's good immigration. That's what we should have. Like, they have an actual ID. They're Mexican citizens, but they have an ID card that allows them to come over to the United States to shop, to go to school, to invest in our economy, and it allows us to go back on the other side of the Mexican border to invest in their economy. Like you going over there, to shop or to eat is investing in their economy. And that is good immigration. Where immigration gets kind of messed up is a situation where people are not using that process and they're coming in illegally without any kind of ID. And we're not knowing who they are, not knowing where they're coming from, not knowing if they've got some nefarious reason for wanting to be in the United States. We've had millions of people enter, since this administration, like 3 million illegal entries, a million gotaways. And most of those people are probably great people. Like they're not going to commit crimes or whatever. But if even 1% of that 3 million people are bad, that's still 30,000 people that are coming into the United States that are looking to hurt or harm United States citizens. And are we comfortable with 30,000 people being criminals? No, we shouldn't be. And that's why I believe that, we need to open up the aperture for immigration. Like we need to figure out a way to have more legal immigration, because we got plenty of jobs in the United States. We got plenty of things for people to do and to contribute to society. And there are some issues there where it's, legal immigration is pretty slow. I know a lot of people who have gone through the naturalization process to become United States citizens. It does take a while. We need to figure that out, but we also need to figure out how to keep the border secure so that we don't allow in people that are looking to traffic humans, traffic, fentanyl, gang members that are looking to come in to just set up shop. And again, that is not every illegal immigrant. Again, so, if you have 3 million come in, probably 99% of them are good. But if 1% of them is bad, that's still a lot of bad people coming in.
Yeah, no, I agree with the numbers and the processing. Here's something that I didn't know, John, that I found fascinating is that whole process at little towns like Naco, Arizona, and I think we crossed in Columbus, Mexico, was actually brought on by the Obama administration way back. And he was the one that started building up some of the not checkpoints, but border crossings to funnel people into certain places.
Yeah. And right. So, a lot of money went into building up those, and they're all called checkpoints, the border processing points. Okay. And they're not nicer than they were back in the day, and allows people to just, kind of go through and, show their border crossing card. It gets checked in a computer and they come right over across into the United States. And, the same thing for us. We're able to cross over into Mexico.
And we crossed into Mexico with no ID whatsoever. They didn't check anything. We literally just walked through. I think if you had a big bag, they might have x-rayed it, but most of the time they didn't even talk to us. But I guess what I found fascinating is the border issue is so damn polarized. If you're a Democrat, you're supposed to be completely open borders. And if you're a Republican, you have to be completely closed borders. But yet, like Obama, who's fairly liberal leaning, created part of a structure that I think is very successful. At least my experience shows this is successful.
Right.
So how the hell do we...
I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, under the Obama administration, and we had quite a few deportations. I mean, Obama, was not a completely open border president. There were a lot of deportations of criminal aliens that occurred under the Obama administration. And you can go back years. I mean, it was under President Clinton that the Immigration Nationality Act was, kind of strengthened under bipartisan support in 1996, which created a lot of the enforcement laws that we're using today. And that was under a Democratic administration. But, what happens is, both sides use the immigration issue politically, either to fundraise or to, kind of embolden their key voters. They make promises. It just becomes this big political issue. And having worked immigration as a law enforcement officer, I mean, it was crazy. So under every president, our operating procedures would change, so every 4 to 8 years, we were changing what we did, based on, whatever president was in office.
So how do we bring it back to centralist? And here's my question to you, John, because when I hear policy on either end, a lot of times my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, correct me here. The policymakers forget that behind each policy is an actual living human being.
Yeah. So, Congress needs to be the one to do that. I mean, you and I could have 1,000 conversations on this, and it's not going to change immigration. So, Congress is the legislative process in the United States, and Congress needs to get together, have some bipartisan support, lay out the rules and regulations that they want, and figure this out. America's a melting pot, and I'm going to say it here on your show. I am not anti-immigration. I want people from all colors, all walks of life, all cultures, every country to be able to legally come here to the United States, raise their right hand at some point in time, and become a United States citizen, because I love this country. I'm proud that this country is a melting pot, and I want to see that occur more. I just do not agree with as much illegal immigration as we've had, because I think it makes the United States less safe at the end of the day. And, my main focus is to keep this country safe, not allow, the bad things to come across the border, not allow 100,000 people a year to continue to die from opioid overdoses because the cartels are just jamming fentanyl down our throats. To stop the child sex trafficking, to stop the human smuggling and misery that occurs because of illegal immigration, and that continues to make the cartels rich. Those are the things that I want to focus on and I want to stop. And, I do a lot of talks about that, but there are still a lot of people on the left that will label me as a nationalist, as, as a racist, because I'm trying to fight an issue and make an issue better.
And that was your experience at the border? That's what you're seeing?
Yeah. Matters where you go on the border. I can take you to places on the border, and if it's something you ever want to do, I can take you down to places there and show you crossing points. And, I'll show you, the you can find birth control packets on the ground because the women are taking birth control because they're afraid of getting raped and having children from their rapists. I can show you, all the, different IDs that are thrown on the ground. I mean, we can go on a walk and some points, and you could probably pull 100 IDs out of the sand because people are dropping their IDs before they come over the border because they don't want people to know who they are. If you're coming over here as an asylee or a refugee, turning yourself into the border patrol, you want to keep your ID in your hand. Mm-hmm. If you're throwing your ID on the ground and hiding your ID before you're crossing the border, there's a reason for that. And, so like I said, a lot of people are coming over here because they're escaping misery or escaping bad situations. And those people will probably become productive people at some point in time in our society once they get normalized and legalized. But there are still people coming across that border that are looking to harm us and do bad things to the United States. And if you can't see both sides of that, then you and I can't, I can't have a conversation with that person. Like I can't debate the issue if you constantly disagree with me that there's no evil crossing the border. If that's what you believe, then we can't have a really good, discussion or debate the issue. You have to see that there's great people coming across, but there's also bad stuff coming across as well.
And it's interesting to me because there's always been that factor, right? As far back as we've been a country, there's been people that try to immigrate for good reasons to become Americans and they want a better life for their family. And there's other people that are fleeing or trying to run from whatever they're running from to create chaos and crime where they're going, right? Like it's always been that way.
Right. Absolutely.
It's not new.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But now we're so we're just so stuck in the politics that, like you said, I'm not allowed to see both sides of the story and say, wait a second, I need a common sense solution here.
Right.
Here's one of the fears I have. If I come to you, just say, John, you're the mayor of a town, and I come to your town, and you let me come to your town with no rules, and my first how many ever days I'm in your town, there's no rules. I broke all the rules to get there. Now there's no rules for me. And now a year later, you try to put rules on me. Why would I start to follow them? There were never rules to begin with.
Yeah, and that's part of the issue, like, for especially people that are entering the country illegally. So, and people will argue this. They're like, well, immigration's civil law, it's civil. yeah, we prosecute it civilly, because if we had to prosecute 3 million people for crossing the border criminally, we
Right.
would destroy every single court in the United States. There's not enough capacity to criminally charge 3 million people. But while we do charge them civilly, for every civil action, there is a criminal action for that as well, where we could charge criminally if we chose to go that direction. To when you enter the United States, there is a criminal code. It's a misdemeanor, 8 USC 1325, which allows us to charge you with a misdemeanor for your first initial illegal entry into the United States. And if you enter after that, after deportation, it's a felony, which is 8 USC 1326. So there are criminal codes attached to all those civil codes. But people will always argue with you. Well, it's not a real crime if you enter the country illegally, but you still broke you violated a policy law. You violated a civil law to come into the United States. The minute you came in, you started breaking laws. And now you go out and you get a fake ID and you get a fake social security number. And, maybe now you're killing someone else's, credit because you're using a social security number that you bought off the street. And then you start driving illegally because the state that you happen to go to doesn't allow driver's license for illegal aliens or something. And so as you go along, you're breaking these little laws, little by little by little by little. And it just and that's the hard part for a lot of people who are here illegally is they get to this point where they've done a couple of things illegally to remain in the United States. And now they have to overcome that to now get to be legalized and maybe get cancellation of removal from an immigration judge and remain in the United States and start to work on their process of becoming a green card holder, on to becoming a United States citizen. So, it's a snowball effect because we're not administering the border the best way that we can.
So let me ask this, John. Do you agree or that it's a human nature to want a better life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, man, I couldn't have done this job and not had a humanitarian heart. Okay. I mean, I've stopped smuggling loads coming, over the mountains here in Colorado, pulled over a Suburban with the, Colorado State Patrol. There's 20 people in the Suburban, 20 people in one Suburban laying on top of each other in the back. They haven't taken showers in weeks, probably haven't eaten in 3 days. The smugglers are making them piss in, bottles in the back. I mean, just dehumanizing these people that they're smuggling, and then we stop them, bring them to a processing center, get them cleaned up, give them, get rid of their, the clothes that they're wearing because they're just trash, give them some new clothes, get them medical help, and then start talking to these people and learning about their journey, a journey that took 7 months for somebody that might have left from like Peru or something, and they maybe they came through South America and through Central America, and it's taken them months to get to the United States. Had to pay a lot of money to cross the border. Maybe they had to traffic some dope because they didn't have enough money to pay the coyotes or to pay the cartel. And then now they're stopped and, crossing the mountains over here in Colorado because, they got some smuggler driving a vehicle in snow and 20 people are in the vehicle. You can't do this job and not have a humanitarian heart and feel for some of those people. But you also have to look at it as we need to stop this. We can't allow this to happen because we've had accidents here in Colorado where they've been in these vehicles and they've rolled off the side of the mountain and they've killed people. When I first became an officer here in Colorado, we had a Ryder truck that did that, rolled off the side of the mountain with illegal aliens in the back, killing multiple of them. And it's if we don't stop what's happening at the border, that's what we're leading to. We're leading to people being trafficked. We're leading to people being smuggled into bad situations. These people are paying these smugglers. They don't always wind up where they want to go. At any time, these smugglers can say, no, we're stopping here, and now you're going to do this to get to your next location. And they make them do whatever, deal dope, get into prostitution if there's women in the group. I mean, it's not a good situation, and unless we figure it out, I mean, people are going to get hurt. And I don't want anyone to get hurt. People are gonna, listen to this podcast and go, "Oh, that doesn't happen a lot. There are a million people in it, or if that happens to 1,000 people, you should still be angry if it's happening to 1,000 people.
Sure.
You should be angry if one child is getting sexually trafficked. I'm angry if one person is abused or hurt. It's either every human life, is important, or none, right? So if it's one child, then we all know it's more than one child. We all know it's more than one woman that's being made to prostitute herself to pay for these, to get moved into the United States. So we should be angry at any number. We shouldn't say that one number is better than another. So
Yeah, I
that's
think
that's how you have to start looking at this issue.
so. John, who the hell benefits? Who benefits from the chaos of not enforcing what laws we currently have and just allowing to take place, which seems maybe correct me if I'm wrong. It seems unprecedented in my lifetime. Like I don't ever remember seeing us just do it this way. So
Yeah.
if I'm wrong on that, let me know. And then
No,
who's
you're not.
benefiting
It's
from
it's
this?
it's worse now. Well, the cartels are benefiting from it the most. So, as a lot of your listeners forward, if people are buying big quantities to move, but usually the dope is moved across the border, and then when it's sold, money is then sent back down into Mexico. So the cartels have to kind of wait for their profits when it's dope. But for human smuggling, the profit's pretty much made up front. So they're charging people, anywhere from, $15,000, to get from certain locations, 1,500 to just cross the border, so they're making thousands and thousands of dollars. And we had, like I said, about 4 or 5 million people cross under this administration so far. And just, think if every single one of those people paid a minimum of 1,500, but probably as high as 15,000 a piece to the cartels. Think how much money the cartels are making off of human smuggling. So, I mean, Mexico right now, I don't support Mexico. I don't go on vacation to Mexico. I don't, the Mexican government, I believe, is complicit in allowing the Chinese to sell precursors for fentanyl to the cartels. I believe that, the Mexican government could do more to, combat, what the cartels are doing along the border. A lot of people are getting rich off of human misery, and yeah, so that's who really benefits. And then, there are benefits made in the United States for cheap labor. Look, people come across illegally, they're getting paid under the table. People are paying them a lower wage. There are definitely, people making money off of the illegal immigration that gets into the United States as well. So I'm not going to say that, inside the United States, it's, the land of milk and honey when these illegal immigrants get here. I mean, people are still being abused all along the way.
So how do we have a solution? Because I guess in my ideal world, I want a solution that still is humane and still treats people like people, right? Like, and let me just throw out this for you. I saw DeSantis out of Florida, one of his, because he's running for president coming up, and he was talking about a policy would even deport the kids, which I struggle with, right? Like how do we balance that, right? How do I be humane and make sure that people that through no fault of their own saw an opportunity to make a better life and came to make it,
Mm-hmm.
how do we fix what's already here? That, because I guess that's my next question. It's like, okay, this seems like a huge number. Is it a fixable problem, or is this just like forever this way?
Yeah. So with the deportation of the kids, just to hit that, like, we don't deport kids just, over the border. So that you have to work with each individual country when you deport a juvenile that's not connected to an adult. And that's why it takes a long time sometimes, because what we did with as immigration, in the law enforcement part, if we arrested a juvenile, that juvenile would go into juvenile detention. You'd have to contact the country that child claims to be from. Then we work with the consulates from those countries to get those children back connected to a familial member in that country. And those those countries work with us. Like, there's this misnomer, a lot of people believe that, we just kick people back across the border and like no one knows, no, we work with every single country of every single person that gets removed from the United States. Like, there's a ton of paperwork that has to be done to deport somebody to another country, even to Mexico. I mean, we send lists and lists to the Mexican government of people that are getting deported back. And the Mexican consulate works hand in hand with, US immigration. So, to kind of answer your question, how do we fix this? Again, Congress just needs to figure out what the laws of the United States are going to be. They need to figure out what we want as an immigration process. We need to work with other countries, and dissuading people from just coming here. Like look, if United States invested a little bit more into Central and South America, countries that are attached to our country, instead of investing so much money overseas, we could probably help some of these Central and South American countries grow their economies, which would then benefit the United States. I think a healthy and secure Central and South America is good security for the United States. So, if we could improve more what's in our own hemisphere, right here, we could make a better, America, which I'm talking about from Canada all the way down to, Peru, Argentina, all the way down to Argentina. So, that's what I feel that we need to do. And we just and again, but then you need to reach out to other countries, overseas, and say, hey, if you're a refugee or an asylee and you want to come here to the United States, there's a process for that. You just can't show up at the front door unless it's a really, really bad situation. And in those situations, like I actually worked on the Afghanistan withdrawal when we had 85,000 Afghanistan people, come over to the United States, and massive flights. Like I worked on that for 90 days. And it was one of the biggest movements of refugees that we've ever done in that short a period of time. And the United States allowed that to happen. So the United States says, hey, we're going to take all these refugees. We're going to set up a processing. And those people came into the United States. They were processed as soon as they came in. They went to certain areas until we could figure out what the backgrounds were of some of the people that were on those planes, because we didn't know when they got on those planes who they were. So we set up this process to bring those people in, and they're not here illegally. They're here under refugee status, and we've done that for Ethiopians. We've done that for Vietnamese. We've done that for many other countries where things got bad. And we said, hey, we're going to accept these people coming up here. We've done it in Central and South America when there's been bad, hurricanes or bad earthquakes. And we said, hey, we're going to give you temporary protective status. And we're going to allow you to come to the United States for a short period of time and live here in the United States legally until conditions in your country improve. And we've done that over the years. So there are processes in the immigration law that allow us to work in concert with other countries and figure this out, how it's going to be done legally. But a lot of it just gets thrown out. And right now I think the whole situation is just chaotic, and chaos is not good for the United States. It's not good for our economy. It's not good for our school systems and our hospitals. To have millions of people just showing up in emergency rooms and not paying because they're not here legally is not good. And we've seen hospitals shut down for it. We've seen teachers have a lot of problems because we've got a massive amount of people showing up at schools that don't speak the language of the teacher. I myself, when I retired, I became a substitute teacher for a little while. Another thing that I jumped into,
Right.
because I'm the kind of guy that wants to see things for myself. So I became a substitute teacher, started teaching in elementary school. And, one of the classes I had, there were, 6 different languages being spoken in the classroom that I was in. And, it was very hard for me to communicate with kids that were, speaking Punjabi, we're speaking Russian, we're speaking, I happen to speak Spanish. Okay. Because of my former career, but there were other languages that were being spoken. There were dialects from Africa. and then I had kids that were like on emotional development plans. And then, so here I am, a, substitute teacher dealing with all these problems in the classroom. And we don't think about those things.
Mhm.
We don't think about all the other causes that, are happening, and it's affecting the other kids in the classroom who are trying to learn. But as a teacher, you're having to pay so much more attention to other things that are happening in the classroom. So, the just the cost of how we're allowing the border to affect our country is affecting us more than a lot of people even realize.
Interesting. How do individuals make a difference in something that seems so big at times?
Yeah, it's very hard. Like you can't really make an individual difference. The only thing that you can do is communicate with your congressman or woman and say, we want these laws changed. It's been 30 years since the Clinton administration, since we looked at the immigration law and we really made vast changes to the law. 30 years, and we've complained about it for the last 20. So, we elect you guys, every 2 years we elect Congress, every 6 years we elect someone into the Senate. And we expect you to be working on these laws, and it has not happened. We have not been able to get any good immigration reform across the table in, the last, almost 30 years. So, that would be the biggest thing, is for people just, you're voting for these people. They work for you. you know Email them, call them, go to meetings that they're at. When they show up at these public forums, show up and ask them straight to their face, what are you doing about the immigration problem? And don't allow them to just give you a simple answer. Oh, it's being worked on. How? What bills have been introduced? Where can you direct me to go read the introduction of an immigration bill that you have signed on? Where is that at? Hold their feet to the fire. That's the biggest thing that you can do as a citizen.
Yeah, I think no matter what side of an issue like this you're on, I think we're too passive as
Mhm.
as citizens and what we expect of our politicians. Like, I'm telling you,
We hold the power.
I'm super guilty too. You elect them in and you kind of don't ever check on them again. You just
Yep.
assume they're doing what's best for you. And it's clear, at least from the outside in, and I'm very central in my politics. And honestly, I don't pay attention to a lot of it just because I don't feel like I don't want to pick sides. Like I need that dude in the middle, that lady in the middle again that just does common sense shit.
Right. Right. Yeah. Politics has become very polarized. Like I said earlier, I mean, it's so far right and so far left. And there are a lot of independents who like you are, firmly in the middle, and that's fine. That is a position, actually.
Yeah.
It's a position to be in the middle and be accepting of something on the left and something on the right. I think it's a position that a lot more Americans hold than people realize. But we do need to be involved. I mean,
Yeah.
look, you're putting the check mark next to that person's name. You hired them for that job. So if that person gets elected, you hired them. It's okay to look and see what they've signed their name to. It's okay to look and see how their voting record has gone. And if you don't agree with it, you need to get out there and be vocal about it,
Yeah.
because that's the only way that we're going to make changes. If we keep electing people and just allowing them to go to Congress and yell at each other and not get anything done, America doesn't grow. I mean, we don't become any better.
No, and I would tell you that's probably the most disheartening thing I've ever seen is just the lack of civility in American politics.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
Where we have these elected officials that don't even act like adults. So share with me, what was it like testifying before Congress? How was that experience?
Oh man, it was nerve-wracking for sure. I've testified in front of state legislature before. I've done a lot of media interviews. I've been in front of a camera and in front of a mic, many times. But being in Congress and knowing that you're in the halls of Congress, and knowing that people are viewing you as a subject matter expert on something was a little bit overwhelming for me. I got in into the room that we were all in, and there were Republicans on one side and Democrats on the other, and there's the chairman and senior ranking member. The chairman was a Republican, senior ranking member was a Democrat, and they're all sitting in front of you, and they read your bio. You raise your right hand, you swear, you get sworn in to tell the truth, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, okay, here I am about to give testimony in front of Congress. There's tons of cameras here. There's people sitting in the gallery behind you. And they're gonna listen. You get an opportunity. You get 5 minutes of oral testimony to say what you want to say and get it out, and then you get a Q&A period. And my testimony and hearing went on for 2 hours, and I was asked a lot of questions by the Republicans. Not one Democrat asked me a question. I don't think they really wanted to engage in what I was saying. I talked about a lot of different things. I talked about deaths in America due to gang violence, and how the crime is up among some of the criminal illegal alien population, not the illegal alien population, but the criminal illegal alien population. Talked about child trafficking, and how we are complicit in some of these children being smuggled into the United States with fake families, how this administration has ended the DNA policy where we were, able to determine if someone was actually a family member of this child that they're bringing across the border. And then, you end your testimony and you're kind of like, wow, that was a big deal. This is going on the record. This will be in the historical books, of the United States forever. It gets logged into the Library of Congress. So it was for me, it was, it kind of just felt like, okay, this is what my career has led up to. And, I felt proud to be there, and, proud to say what I had to say.
I love it. I appreciate you taking the time to even do that and to prepare. I read the transcript of your testimony last night, and you had so much good factual data, which I think is so important, right? Because data is data. It's just facts. It's just numbers. Right. It doesn't know left from right, red from blue. Right. It's just information. So I got to tell you, John, though, it's like, it saddens me a little bit that here I have an expert who's dedicated his life to something coming to testify in front of Congress, and one half of the room doesn't even listen. Right. Like I'll tell you, having this podcast, I may not agree with everything you say, but I want to know why you think what you think. I want to know, because I don't have your experience. I've never done what you've done in life. So you tell me from your view, and then I can compare it to my experience.
Right.
But I can't
it was a little
dismiss you.
Yeah, it was a little upsetting to me. Number one, like you, I'm a veteran of the United States. I served in our military, served in federal law enforcement for over 26 years. And I've worked under multiple administrations. I've worked for Democrat presidents. I've worked for Republican presidents. In fact, I've worked for more Democrat presidents than I have Republican presidents. Just the way my career years went. Yeah. So for one side to look at me and decide that I'm not worth their time, or they don't want to open an aperture to give me more of an opportunity to discuss with them what I feel is the truth, was kind of a letdown for me, because I have served this country faithfully, and I believe I was ready and prepared for them to ask me whatever they chose to ask me. They could have sat there, bashed me, and then asked me some really over the top questions, and I still would have faithfully answered that question to the best of my ability. And for me, it was just it just shows where politics is right now. It shouldn't be that way.
And I think when I watch that, it goes back to what is acceptable human behavior. If I have somebody in the room, the least I can do is be cordial to them and listen to them and ask a question and grow with them. You wouldn't accept kids to treat each other like we do with politics anymore.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, John, where can our audience follow along with you and gather more information and just see what you're doing?
Yeah, so you can follow the Complete Solution Group on Instagram and on LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn, and that's the Complete Solution Group. And you could also follow me at the National Immigration Center for Enforcement. It's a nonprofit group that I'm working with on Twitter. We are at NIC Enforcement, and so I'm on the board for that. I'm John E_Fab on Twitter, so you can follow me on Twitter there. Yeah, and I'll hopefully be doing a little bit more. I have some aspirations to maybe get into politics myself. So if that happens, I'll reach out to you and we can have another discussion about that at a later date. So
Yeah,
yeah, I feel that if I'm gonna keep complaining about it, I might as well do something about it. It's that extreme ownership. So
for sure.
maybe I have to step up and actually do something myself if I want it done.
No, I appreciate you willing to step into the limelight and take on some of the stress that comes with it. Because having testified, in many courts before, I know how much work I put into that. I can only imagine what it took to be ready to go
And
before Congress.
they gave me 4 days.
Ah, dude, you don't need
four
much more than that.
days.
That's why you're always ready, bro. You stay in shape,
Right,
you're ready.
exactly. Stay in shape, you get ready. That's
I
right.
love it. John, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your point of view and keep doing your work, my friend. We appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you having me on.